Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the My GBC podcast. Every day as we walk around, we're surrounded by buildings and structures. But what makes a building stand out? What makes it strong and sustainable? Why was it designed the way it was? These are all questions that an architect could answer for you. And yes, today we are talking to someone from the School of Architectural Studies at George Brown College.
One of its programs, Architectural Technology, has been a fundamental part of the college for now 40 years. You can even see an innovative vision of architecture represented now at George Brown's Limberlost building at the waterfront campus. Today we're going to talk about all of this and learn more about this fascinating area of study at George Brown. We're joined here by Professor and Program Coordinator Pietro Ferrari to talk about it. Hello, Pietro. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing?
We're doing well. Thank you so much for
Good.
asking.
Good.
What is your role at the college?
My role at the college is I'm primarily a professor of architectural studies. I over a few courses. I do different courses. And my other role that is fairly significant is a program coordinator for the T109 Architectural Technology program. And I've been at the college doing that since 2004. On and
Wow.
on. I became full-time 2010,
Mhm.
and I've been coordinator since 2011.
Wow. Well, the next question was how long have you been at the School of Architectural Studies? But you already answered that. So, what is your favorite part about your role here?
My favorite part that I'm always busy.
Okay.
That might sound odd, but there's so much to do at the college. It's a very exciting, every year is more and more exciting than the previous. Our program, the teaching is fantastic. I like interacting with the student community. I enjoy my courses, developing those relationships with students while they're students, and then seeing them progress as alumni and be successful. And at the same time, as a coordinator, what I really enjoy is just making the programs better together with my colleagues at the college. We try to stay current with our courses. We try to make sure we're hitting targets that industry is looking for, making the
Mhm.
courses exciting and relevant, and just coming up with new possibilities for the program and for our students and for our graduates.
Awesome.
Thanks.
What are the core areas of study for your students in this field?
Well, the core components of architectural technology, architectural technician, we have both programs in the School of Architectural Studies, is there seems to be a misunderstanding between architectural technology and architecture itself. Architectural technology is a part of architecture. And I like to say that that is the component where, you mentioned at the start of the podcast, as you look at buildings, how do they stand? How do they work? Well, the architectural technologist becomes the go-to person for the actual buildability, if that's the proper terminology, for buildings and structures and infrastructure in our built environment. So primarily the students are looking at different things. How do buildings actually come together technically? How do they come together based on materials? What are all the different materials that contribute to it? We looked at structures. How does structure actually work within the environment that of buildings? We look at building science, right? How do we keep the cold out and the warmth in, and then the warmth out and the cold in, vice versa, which is a very arduous task sometimes. We look at digital technologies, right? We've all seen a significant digital transformation over the last few years, and we make sure that our programming, our software, our applications are all current, so our students get that technical skill as well. We like to
Mhm.
say that we provide the theoretical knowledge, but the primary basis is that we provide the applicable skills that can be immediately translated into contributing to an employable environment.
Mhm.
Um, so there's a lot, right? But the primary thing is that it is, I would say that 70 to 75% is technical resolution of the built environment, and 25 to 30% is more the design component of the built environment.
Okay, cool. So, what makes architectural studies at George Brown unique and different than other colleges or universities?
Well, I think one of the things that makes us most unique is we're in Toronto. We're in the
Yeah.
core. We're in the city,
Mhm.
and arguably I think we're the only, well, no, we are the only college of architectural technology and architectural studies is actually within the proper Toronto proper environment, right? We're in the
Right.
core, so we are exposed to a hub of activity. Our students really the city is a lab for us.
Mhm.
We try to engage with it as much as possible, but because we're a very large program, it's sometimes difficult to do that. But it's great to be in the city. Toronto is has always been dynamic in architecture, construction, and design, but also in so many other components. And we've been riding a very successful wave of building and infrastructure development for the last as long as I can remember, anyway. And now what's going on down by the waterfront, where our new campus is, the Limberlost place. That's what makes us very significantly unique, I think. Does anything make us different? I think most of the institutions right now out there are keeping pace with each other, but I think what I see as being unique and different in our component is that we are constantly trying to ensure that we are providing the opportunity for not only the traditional skills and knowledge of the industry, but also those that are happening now, the innovative ones now. And we're trying to hit the targets that we see moving down the road in about 5, 10, 15 years. We're trying to ensure that there's a constant connection between there. And based on the feedback we get from our industry partners, we're doing that very well.
Mhm. And how would you say that the School of Architectural Studies is keeping pace with the technologies in the architectural, engineering, and construction sector?
That's a good segue into this next question from the previous, because as I said, buildings and design and construction is a very traditional, very heavily rooted in the traditional, which I don't think right now we're ready to abandon. However, at the same time, there's been a huge digital transformation with new software, fabrication components, manufacturing, design capabilities. The software is just overtaking it. There's been a significant amplification of the technology as applied to the industry. So we're trying to keep pace with that as much as possible by always trying to integrate new curriculum and new content and new courses into our programs. We've introduced options in the final year of the semester where students are able to select from 5 areas of interest that they have. They take 2 out of 5 courses, and 3 of those courses are all about new and innovative digital practices and digital technologies, 3D printing, laser scanning, advanced modeling. We're looking at robotics. We're looking at energy modeling. What are some of the other things we're looking at? Prefabrication, resilience of new materials, environmental sustainability. These are all things that we're trying to stay ahead of, but at the same time, we're not losing sight of the roots that developed in the traditional aspect of our built environment. So how do we keep track? Well, we participate, we stay current that way, but we participate in organizations and conferences. I'm also in an organization called Building Transformations, which is a national not-for-profit that is involved with the progress of digital transformations in the construction and engineering, architecture, and construction industries. That is a huge feeder for us in terms of innovative practices. And it's really just about, just like anything else, if you want to try to be, we need to be generalists overall, but we also need to be very specific specialists in understanding how modern technology is transforming the industry. So we try to stay as current as possible by ensuring our curriculum
Mhm.
reflects what industry tells us they need to stay competitive in this new digital world.
So, is there any co-op program in the School of Architectural Studies?
Yes, actually, we do have a co-op program. When our students transition from second to third year, it is a divisional select program. So coming out of second
Okay.
year in architectural studies, architectural technician and technologist together, we're usually up and around 200 students. It's
Wow.
it's
Wow.
it's to the best of my knowledge, I was told a few years ago by a representative of the Royal Architectural Institute of Canada that we are actually the largest program in Canada at that time. I'm not sure if it still stands
Wow.
today. That's a lot of students. The reason I'm
Mhm.
saying that is because ideally it would be great to have 200 students go out on 200 co-ops,
Mhm.
but that would be quite the
Insane.
undertaking.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've created this divisional select where we take anywhere between 20 to 30 students who
Hmm.
apply, and there's a whole process they go through from academic performance to a video interview, panel interview. Sometimes there's an assessment done, and then all of those factors go to an assessment panel,
Hmm.
and it's all weighted in terms of a rubric assessment. And we pick our students, and those students go to school in the summer. So right now, my 24 co-op students are doing their fifth semester as opposed to being off.
Hmm.
And when they're supposed to do their fifth semester in September, they actually go out to co-op for 4 months.
Right.
So it's so far it's been extremely successful. Our placement rates, even through COVID, remained high. I think the lowest we ever got was 92% of the students were placed. And of those 92, almost 95 of them do stay on as employees with their co-op placement offices. So
Wow.
it's it's a lot of work. It's very competitive.
Hmm.
And as I said, arguably, I think we've got a very good program because the numbers are consistently high in terms of placement and retention with the employers.
Nice. And then what would be the link between the program and partners in the industry, and why is that important?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the link is extremely important because that link with industry partners is what keeps us current, keeps us relevant. Everything we do, we try to consult with what our program advisory committee, which consists of a number of industry partners who we meet 3 times a year, and we
Hmm.
tell them, what are we doing? How are we doing it? Are we doing it right? What do you suggest? What should we change? And every time we try to consider aspects of our curriculum perhaps to be modified or changed, we survey our program advisory committee. And the reason we do that is just like anything else. We like to believe that we're the innovators, and we are to a certain extent, but they are significantly better and more current because they tend to be a lot more nimble in how they move forward to
Mhm.
address the needs of the industry. So we go to the people that hire our students, and those are our partners. And we say, what do you need? What skills should our graduates have in order to be directly effective for you when you hire them? And
Oh yeah.
I had a conversation with one of our partners a couple of years ago. I won't say the name, but it's a very successful architectural firm internationally and nationally here in Toronto. And we were having lunch, and he said to me, the reason we like hiring your students is because we can hire one of your students, and within 2 to 3 months, that student is up and running for us in terms of revenue, in terms of productivity.
Mhm.
Uh, Sometimes when we go to other institutions, whether college or university, they tend to take a little bit longer to get up to that point. So in terms of a quote unquote investment of needs, our students tend to be more productive for them sooner than some of the other ones because of the body of information and skills they get through our programs, which also that body reflects what that same person will tell me he needs our students to do. So that cyclical component is extremely important to us. If we didn't have strong industry partners, successful, varied industry partners as well, we go from architects to technologists to engineers to contractors to building departments. We actually even have clients like the owners of companies that hire architects, and we also then have different capacities within there. So engineering and different disciplines. There's then different capacities within those disciplines. If we didn't have that, then we would just be producing generic possibilities, or our students would just have generic skills. By speaking to these people on a regular basis, we make sure we hit the target. And one of the best examples is I literally this morning, before we did this meeting, I sent out a few text messages to some of our industry partners.
Mhm.
And my text message was, you need anything for co-op in the fall? And what I love when they say to me, absolutely, just recycle last year's posting.
Yeah.
We know what we're going to get. So I
Mhm.
don't even have to it doesn't even have to be such a formal thing because we help our
Yeah.
students get their co-op placements. So that's why it's important to have relationships with industry partners.
Yeah, that's nice. So, speaking of all the awesome students in the program, do you have any memories of some of the students' projects that really impressed you?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll zero in on one course. We have one particular course that is one of the options in third semester. So we have agreements with universities that take our students after 3 years, they articulate into a master's program
Mhm.
in universities, two in the US, one Boston Architectural College, Lawrence Technological University. We have Athabasca. We have an exchange program with Kia in Denmark. But this particular course, all our students are strong technically,
Mhm.
and we almost take it for granted that they are. One of the program options that they can focus on in third semester for students who are interested in pursuing a master's degree, we offer a course called Concentrations in Architecture. Concentrations in Architecture focuses strictly on a conceptual design. We basically say to them, everything you've been doing for the last 2.5 years, technically, forget about it. We're talking about critical and creative thinking now. So don't worry about the technical. Come up with an abstract idea and develop it as a statement.
Mhm.
And I love at the end of that course, the projects that are done are incredible. And it's testament to the fact that the students that we have the opportunity to develop multiple skills. So for example, we did projects last semester. Every student for concentrations in architecture is able to do their own project, like a mini thesis. So they
Mhm.
start from the genesis of an idea all the way up to the creation of a design. And there was one who did a museum of heritage in Lithuania. We had a few students who tried to address the insecurity of homelessness here in Toronto and
Mhm.
providing shelters and the designs they did for them. We had another student who did a theater for Kingston, Queen's University in Kingston.
Mhm.
It's hard for me to pinpoint just one because there's so many projects that are overwhelming to me. The students just come through so profoundly when you give them the opportunity, you just give them a little bit of freedom. They get
Mhm.
terrified at the beginning
Yeah.
because they're used to the limitations.
Mhm.
But when you tell them it's
Hmm.
anything you want, the first couple of weeks is just hysteria.
Right.
And then after those first couple of weeks, when they begin to understand their thought process better, the projects that come out are fantastic. But we've had
Mhm.
a lot of good projects. We've had students that have won competitions in the past. And some of the other interesting projects is we do internal research projects, or so I like to call them special projects, where our students are recreating lost architectural heritage. In this case, we're doing Italy. We've got another professor who's doing an Algonquin village in Deep River
Mhm.
near Ottawa, and those projects are just incredible how the students develop them as well. So it's hard to pinpoint.
A
Again,
specific
I'm
one.
all over the place because there's just so many good things going on.
Mhm.
Hmm. Nice.
This year, the Architectural Technology program is celebrating 40 years of education at Georgetown College. Can you walk us through how this program began and how it's grown since then?
So it actually started out as a program in as drafting technician
Mhm.
40 years ago, which would have been early 80s, 84 to be exact.
Wow.
And from drafting technician, it became more and more popular. Then it became drafting structural technician, and then it became architectural technician, which is a 2-year program. And
Mhm.
then the need came up for architectural technologist, which is a 3-year program. And now there's the possibility of 3-year degrees that are being discussed by the province. But it
Mhm.
started out just as learning how to draft by hand.
Right.
And over the years, it's just
Grown.
grown. Like I said, we're
Yeah.
one of the, if not the biggest in the country.
Mhm.
But more than just doing, we still do a little bit of hand drafting in first semester. And that's because we want the students to
Yeah.
be aware of the tactile nature of drawing to a certain extent. But in the from a
Mhm.
drafting technician only, we've now looking at all sorts of components of buildings, as I said earlier. So
Mhm.
it's come quite a way. In my 20 years there, I can't believe I'm saying 20 years. I've seen a lot of students go through, and we feel that this 40 years is actually very important. Next year,
Yeah, definitely.
next year that will be 40 and a half. We will be moving into our new building on the lakefront. So we're
Mhm.
looking at really working with alumni and bringing the 40 years to the forefront and celebrating it. But as I said, it just started out for a need for draftsmen and ended up becoming a full-blown program in technology.
Mhm.
Nice. So speaking of celebration, is there anything special that's planned to happen for this
Can't
anniversary?
tell you. It's a surprise. I
Surprise.
can't tell you because we don't know for sure what we're doing, but we're doing something. There's so
Okay.
much we're trying. Yes, our hope is that we will be doing something in early 2025
Mhm.
where ideally we'd like to bring back as many alumni as possible. And at the same time, and by dropping this hint now, I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself, but we would like to begin to recognize alumni that have accomplished things, like maybe a distinguished alumni set of
Mhm.
awards. We
Mhm.
really want to play it up because when you look out there, it's funny,
Nice.
in this industry, as I reach out to all sorts of architectural firms, it's incredible how just out of the blue, someone will say, "Oh, I was a George Brown student. I am a George
Oh,
Brown graduate."
yeah.
And in my 20 years, in all the hundreds that thousands maybe that I've seen go through, there's 20 years before that where our students are graduating.
Yeah.
So it could, we'd have to rent out the Rogers Center if we want to have a party for everybody. But who knows? Maybe Rogers will sponsor the event. But we are planning to do something
Mhm.
very memorable.
We'll expect an invitation.
Oh, great. Pressure's on for real now.
Let's talk about the Limberlost building. Being
Yes.
built on waterfront campus, what makes it so special? And once the School of Architectural Studies moves into the building, how will it affect the experience of the students at the school?
Well, Limberlost, there's so many aspects to it that pique interest. First of all, as you said, it's going to be on the waterfront, which
Mhm.
well, it's on the waterfront,
Right.
right? You can imagine on a nice day like today,
Mhm.
nice and sunny, you're looking out. Mind you, at Casa Loma campus right now, we're looking out at the castle, so that's not bad.
Mhm.
But the thing about waterfront campus is that it is a full-blown campus, right? The college has intentions of really establishing a strong presence down there.
Mhm.
And this building, already with the health sciences building, our building now, will be a key part of that central area. We'd be very strong in the central component of the waterfront. So it's very exciting. The building itself is a landmark. I'm not going to speak too much about the technical nature of it, but it is Canada's first mass timber building of that size. By the time it opens, there'll be others already under construction to surpass it. But George Brown College's Limberlost Place is the first to do something of that nature, mass timber building. And aside from the mass timber, which is revolutionary, when we look at how it's done, again, technically, I'm not going to get into it, but it is groundbreaking. It's an example. I've been told that there's been tours. I forget how many tours have been done over the phase of its construction, but people have come from all over the world to tour the building. Architects, engineers, building officials from all over the world because it is so groundbreaking. Something is uh, constructive and proactive when it actually begins to question standards that we've taken for granted, questioning them in a productive and constructive way. So it's changing the way we consider how we build and operate our buildings to the point where this will begin to become reflected in the Ontario Building Code. But the building in and of itself is going to be housing our School of Architectural Studies, and I believe the School of Computer Computer Studies. But we're hoping that we will be walking into a building that is newer, obviously, than Casa Loma campus. But we're hoping that it will not only augment what we're doing now in terms of, as I said earlier, the traditional and the advanced, but also enable us to just turn it up a notch, from 10 to 11 and move it forward even better. We're excited about moving into Limberlost Place.
Mhm.
we don't know what to expect, but we're hopeful that it will be everything that we think it should be, meaning it'll make it a great environment for our students. There's a lot of collaborative spaces. There's going to be properly designated studio spaces. There's going to be a greater involvement of the digital technologies. So I'm as anxious as everybody else is and curious as well. So I hope I've given enough of a taste here because I really don't know much beyond that right now, and I don't want to get into the technical.
Correct.
So before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to let our listeners know about?
So our current students, come and check us out at Limberlost when we get down there, and come and check us out even now. Our students are doing some very interesting things. For prospective students, I will say, if you're considering School of Architectural Studies, it's a good time to be considering the School of Architectural Studies. We have so much going on a regular basis, and there's so much more that we're planning, and some I can identify and some I can't even identify, because as we achieve one thing, we say, okay, well, what are we going to do next? And we scope it out and see what we can do. But, the last few years we've really reinforced the diversity of the program. We've got faculty that are primarily from industry. So you're getting a lot of people that are actually out there in the trenches, bringing their experience into the program, which is very fundamental for us. We offer opportunities like co-op, a very successful co-op program. Our brand new study abroad program that we took 6 students to Italy last year, and we brought 2 laser scanners and 2 drones, and we scanned Roman ruins and medieval ruins with a laser scanner. And the students are now, the intention is we're going to recreate all of that in VR and help the communities that we worked with in Italy develop a virtual tourism component. But at the same time, students are learning about this historical aspect.
Wow.
So they'd be doing like classes online virtually, and you would be trying to supplement whatever they need to learn throughout the semester?
Yeah, it wasn't a vacation for them.
Right.
It was, we were there week 8 for intercession, and then they came back here at the end of week 9. Week 9 was a vacation. Week 8, sorry, was the vacation, really. They were working with me. We were scanning and droning and all that kind of stuff. But then week 9, it was pretty intense for them because they did have assignments due. We worked it in as a credit for their history of architecture class, so that helped out. But yeah, it was pretty intense. It was I didn't let up on them.
Your students get like help throughout the school for that type of
well, we brought in external sponsors that provide awards, quote unquote awards of $2,000 a pop student. And then we had the Global Mobility Fund that the international office has at GBC. I think that was $1,500. So that's 35. I had another sponsor that gave us another $5,000. So it was in total, it turned out to be about $4,700 per student, and 4,200 of that was covered.
Wow, yeah.
Huh. So all that money goes towards that trip, or that goes towards them as well in their education?
It goes towards their trip.
Their trip. Just a lot of information that I was wondering in my head. I was like, there was
very informative, very informative.
There's just so much going on. And even as I'm saying this, I'm thinking as soon as we're done this call, I got some other ideas. I got to start making notes, but we're looking at what is the next step. What is it that we are going to do next? We're looking at potential postgraduate certificates, micro-credentials, and more involvement with project-based learning within the community. It's a good time to think about School of Architectural Studies.
Thank you so much, Pietro, for being on this podcast today and talking to us about all of this.
And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. And if you want to learn more about the School of Architectural Studies, you can check out the link in our show notes.
Well, thank you. Thanks for your time, guys. I appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah.
Thanks for teaching us about all this. I learned a lot actually today.
Cool.
Now I'm excited. I'll go visit that building soon.
Yeah. The end of this year, it should be substantially complete. And then early January, you can probably walk into it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
you.